Daf Yomi, tractate, Bava Batra, page 66b. Top of the page with the words V'hakay malan d'Rabbanan. Ve'od ha'amar Rabbi Yossi ben Rabbi Chanina b'daf shel mateches machlokes. But this is difficult, as we maintain that the halacha that drawn water invalidates ritual bath applies only by rabbinic decree. And furthermore, doesn't Rabbi Yossi ben Rabbi Chanina say that the dispute between Rabbi Eliezer and the rabbis is with regard to a board of metal and a metal vessel, even if it is flat and lacks a receptacle, is susceptible to ritual impurity by Torah law? This means that, according to Rabbi Eliezer, even a vessel that is susceptible to ritual impurity by Torah law loses its status as a vessel when it is affixed to the ground. Consequently, the question returns whose opinion is cited in the Batra that states that if one first hollowed out a duct and afterward fixed it to the ground, it is still considered a vessel, and water flowing through it invalidates a ritual bath. But if he first fixed it to the ground and afterward hollowed it out, the water flowing through it does not invalidate a ritual bath. The olam Rabbanan he v'shani she'iva de Rabbanan. The Gemara answers, actually, one can explain that the Batra is in accordance with the opinion of the rabbis, who deem the baker's metal board susceptible to ritual impurity, even when it is fixed to a wall. But the halacha governing drawn water added to a deficient ritual bath is different, because drawn water invalidates a deficient ritual bath only by rabbinic law, and therefore the rabbis were lenient. Ihachi afilu chakako ulivasov kavonami shani hasan ika teres kli alav behesalush. The Gemara asks, if so, then even if one first hollowed out the duct and only afterward fixed it to the ground, water flowing through it should not invalidate the ritual bath as well. The Gemara answers, it is different there, where the duct was hollowed out before being affixed to the ground, as the duct had the status of a vessel when it was still detached from the ground, and therefore the rabbis were not willing to be lenient to such an extent and rule that water flowing through the duct does not invalidate a ritual bath. Boy Rav Yosef megashamim shechishev alehem lehadiach et ha'itstrobalin mahu lezraim. Rav Yosef raises a dilemma with regard to rainwater that was falling, and the owner consciously desired that it should fall so that it would wash his immovable lower millstones. What is the halacha with regard to seeds in the millstones? The verse, but if any water be put on seed, it shall be unclean to you, Leviticus 11:38, teaches that seeds and other food become susceptible to ritual purity only, or ritual impurity, only after they have been detached from the ground. And water, or another of the 7 liquids specified in the Mishnah in Machshirin 6:4, has been put on them. The food must be exposed to the liquid willfully by the owner That is, he must desire or at least be pleased that the food should become wet. Rav Yosef asked about a case where the owner wants the rain to fall on the millstones. Does that water make the seeds upon which it falls susceptible to ritual impurity? Aliba de Rabbi Eliezer Amar Kol ha-mechubar lekarka harayu kekarka lo tiba elach ki tiba elach aliba de Rabbanan damri eno kekarka mai teku. The Gemara clarifies Rav Yosef's question. Do not raise this dilemma according to the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer, who says anything attached to the ground has the same legal status as the ground. Since the lower millstones are attached to the ground, they therefore have the same legal status as the ground, and water that falls on the ground, even if it is pleasing to the owner, does not make food susceptible to ritual impurity. When should you raise the dilemma? Raise it according to the opinion of the rabbis, who say it does not have the same legal status as the ground. What is the halacha with respect to imparting susceptibility to ritual impurity? The Gemara concludes that an answer to this question was not found, and therefore the dilemma shall stand unresolved. Teku. And this would be, what number teku would this be in Shas? I think this would be 160 take. Teku 159 was on 62b. So now we're on 66. B. Ganse. Yeah, the Teku 159 was on in Bava Batra 62b. Okay. And this is the 160th Teku in Talmud Bavli. So it gets all the way to Bava Basra to get to the halfway point, which I find very interesting. That, okay, we'll just do the last line and I'll say my piece that I was going to say. Okay. Shalach le Rav Nechemya b'rei Rav Yosef l'Rabba b'rei Rav Huna Zuti l'narda'a ki asyach ititalikamach. Rav Nechemya, the son of Rav Yosef, sent a message to Rabba, son of Rav Huna, the short, or the small, Zuti is small, short, at Narda'a. When this woman bearing this letter comes before you, okay, that finishes this daf. Okay, back to the Teku. It's an interesting book that I discovered a few years ago. That was written by a rabbi in Eretz Yisrael. Yeah, I believe he lives in Ramat Beit Shemesh. His name is Rabbi Aharon Yehoshua Pessin, and he put together a book called Teku. And what this is a compilation of all the Tekus in Shas, going from the very first one on Brachot 8a until the last one, which is in Tractate Nida, I believe it's 63 or 62, something around there. And 317 Tekus in the Babylonian Talmud, which brings another interesting question as to why the Jerusalem Talmud doesn't have any Tekus. But Teku means, we don't have an answer to it. We need to wait until the Messiah comes to get an answer. And so this intrigued me. It's intrigued me very much. And Teku. Now, for some reason, I started to take an interest in this book and to really study each one and each Teku in order. And in that way, go through Shas just by the Tekus. And it's been an interesting journey. And I'm taking it to a very specific, very, very fine-tuned level, in that I'm also counting the lines of the Vilna edition of the Babylonian Talmud, what line it occurs on and what word of the line. And is that something that's organized min hashamayim, from heaven? Is there something to that? Well, it's an inquiry, research, and exploration. And so there's something I wanted to say about Teku. So in Teku number 160, oh yeah, right. So the middle daf of Shas occurs in Kedushin. It's very simple. There's 2,711 pages. You divide it by 2, it's like 1,335 or something. And there's one. It's an odd number, so it's like one in the middle. It's right around there, 1330 something, and that occurs around Kedushin 38 or 39, depending. Some people disagreed, but I think it was 38. But okay, some say it was 39. But anyway, around there. But Kedushin is a solid 3 Masechtas away from now. That's the half of Shas. But the half of the amount of Tekus in Shas occurs much later because they're kind of sparsed out in different ways. They're spread out throughout the Talmud, and I suppose there are more Tekus in the first half than in the second half. Or wait a minute, would it be less Tekus? Anyway, either way, there's a different amount of Tekus on one side of Shas than the other. 3 Masechtas worth. Bava Kama, Bava Metzia, and we're not half of Bava Batra, but we're a good amount into it. We're about a third into it. Over a third into it. And, of course, that last part of Kedushin. Yeah, right, no, you have half of Kedushin. So there's a good amount of Masechtas that split the half of Shas between the half of Tekus. And I'm wondering if there's anything to that. That's also a Teku which I continue to explore.